Yesterday, the river ice, till now page blank, was annotated by coyotes. I followed their New Year letters down along the west side of the island, a squat clay column crowned with sedge and hawthorn trees. The river's white parentheses now hold it as a thing apart, a garden closed, a fountain sealed, though I have seen it whelmed with flood. I haven't been here since a child, but I remember how a hawthorn tree affords a kind of shelter, makes a fortified enclosure. Are you here, my intimate God? The way leads out of the charmed enclosure, out of the garden, from the child, and back into the business of life.
Which is nice.
I know it will not be forever, that the river will agree to bear me up, a thaw's predicted. But for now, come walk with me, my friend, along this frozen river. A season of vision and delay, the time it takes the kings to travel, or a letter to arrive, or there to be at last a day that's cold enough. I think about Richard as the mercury sinks in the mouth of another season. I think of him watching the weather. If I had your eyes, perhaps I could better read these tracks. The coyotes' New Year letters marked out on the river ice. How they meander, double back, go on again, and how they mean nothing and are for no one's eyes. That night when we were drinking at the pub close by St. Thomas's, you lectured me about the Phaedo. The subject comes from the occasion, not the other way around. Just so. I'd rather talk with you, my friend, about orchards or tides or the alphabet. But I must take the text I'm said by text. And by our conversation, by an accident of dates, that asterisk. Your small aside, GaRRy Williams. Eros crucified. Relational God, the Word. My Eros. God of the space and time abridging arrows. How much can he carry in the name of God? How much metapherian mortal touch? You said you fear encountering him midway along the hall of this our life, on your way to the bathroom at night, or also in the evening in an orchard partway down a row between the apple trees. But whom? This personage your fear encounters. Is it lover, father, son, your friend? Somewhere beyond myself, I wait for my arrival. At the place you marked on maps with an uncompleted asterisk in childhood with a counted X. I never knew what Auden meant when he said he was a Christian because there was no other God aroused all sides of his being to the cry, crucify him. But it was I who strung him up in the civic square of myself, my Eros, sacker of cities, God of love, disfigured statue. So why am I surprised to find him there? You said you feel a loss in letters. It's in the closeness of improvised conversation your mind comes alive. That's Haydn's Winter Room, where the words resonate, wrestle, and blend. This in one of my favorite poems about friendship. My friend, what can survive the killing cold of letters then? The mooted choice, either strictly speaking to silent fall, or to write. The crucified voice. God of the first, most painful divisions, that in which the universe tries to put itself back together again, in again and again and again and again. Was ist deine leidenste Erfahrung? He became silence. He became distance. I write small poems. They are more given to the enfleshment of a vision than to the sustenance of belief. But I'll stretch this one out for you. The first light of the universe, hammered to the thickness of gold leaf. The river's white parentheses, that frozen torrent, roaring silence, threaten the logos of the island. All that's necessary strictly is to silent fall, wrote Richard, never to speak again, outwintering me, turning his bitter water to wine. You ask me if I write for him, and I say I can't because he's gone. I was to see him in Port Hope that winter, but there was a thaw and rain, and then it all froze up, and he forbade me to attempt the drive, and anything he would have bid me, then I would have done. In fact, did do. I bid the phone goodbye, went home by other ways, and 1 month later, he was dead. You are among my loves, he said. There is that sound beyond all language. Cry of all that's sad and strange. Coyotes howling. Wind and rain. You hear it sometimes too in poems, in the perfection of the rhymes. God of my youth, returned to haunt my middle age, reminding me I promised him all kinds of things when I was young and unavailed of them. My heart, my firstborn child. What he wants is always something other than what we volunteer. There will be no suffering here. The world that knew I wouldn't face the fact that there is no such place has let me hear it in your voice. Metaphyrean, mortal touch, who made the gods ridiculous with transformations, birds and beasts, and even once a human being, so that at last they strung him up. Metaphyrean, mortal touch. My Eros is crucified. What does that mean? My desire is transformed. Yes. But how? Redeemed? Disarmed? Or given fresh artillery? Not the arrow, but the way. Sein Ausgang eilet aus der Höhe in euer Mutterhaus. This morning I can hear the wind. It held its fire on the morning I was walking on the river talking to you in my mind, but right now it howls around my study. I can hear it in this poem, The Loneliness of Letters. This, although the poets say before the word was sign or symbol, sacrament, or flesh and blood, it was this. What? This gap, this love. Wyman calls Christ contingency, what happens to the gods, what is. Sometimes I pray to that what is to help me value, as you say, the actual over the possible, and over freedom, yes, the good. Da quod ubes domine. Meanwhile, what happens picks its way amid the matted river sedge and in among the hawthorn branches, out on the wide river ice. Accident and happenstance and chance encounter and the glancing blow. Christ, can one pray to that? On a westbound train to Union Station, I have just, like you, reread Auden's New Year letter, thinking who could write it better, knowing that himself now sits upon the jury with the wits, the metaphysicists, the liars, the soothsayers, hanging fire while I step into the stand, who would presume to try my hand at a verse letter to a friend on the occasion of the end of an old year or the beginning of a new year. What would he make of mine, the poem as intimate aside, all asterisk and otherwise, who even in his lover's bed prepared dispatches to the reader? Or me, who even on the stand rehearses letters to a friend? I hate to think. And yet his measures home to me. It gives me pleasure just to hear it in my head after autumn sense has fled. These tidy couplets locked away against the closing of the day. Each item summoned and dismissed by rhyme, checked off the list. You see, my thoughts will neatly cue for it. However, friend, for you, I will lay down the weapon of the I am. Look there. On the exposed ascenders, see the clumps of flesh grass caught. That's evidence of flooding. For once, the silent torrent whelmed the verses. Season of waiting, secret birth, season of travel. Now we disperse to our own countries by other ways, hiding our scent in the stench of the dead, going cross country, taking to water. Zu dem Raschen Wasser sprich. What is it that is most bitter? It aches my heart, you said. Let's go. Yes. Out of these cold enclosures, back to winter rooms. And still this feeling I sometimes have that all that's necessary strictly is to silent fall, to stay out in the wind and rain until it turns to ice and snow. Beneficent, like that which fell from heaven down into the streetlight where I stood and raised my arms up into it, an act of praise, impulsively. Before we parted, turning to go our separate ways, you down into St. George Station, I back to the library where I'd been reading. You had placed your hand just briefly on the back of my hatless head as we embraced. Then let me go. Commands of grace.
Yes.
And such precise commands of grace grow myriad in time and space as sacrament embodied there. What more can mortal body bear? Thus Richard, who, when I resumed, in somewhat less than sober state, my carol, pun intended, as he sometimes does, dispatched to me the thing I needed. Here it is, the only ending to my poem. Here we bring you water from the well so clear, for to worship God with this happy new year. Sing levy-do, the water and the wine. 7 bright fires and the bugles that do shine. Sing, reign of fair maid with gold upon her toe. Open you the west door and turn the old year go. Sing, reign of fair maid with gold upon her chin. Open you the east door and let the new year in. Sing levy-do, the water and the wine. The 7 bright gold wires and the bugles that do shine.